Good morning, traders. This is a live trade recap. It's 4:24 Monday morning, December 14th. I took a trade on Sckt. I have it on video. So I opened up Weevil right before market opened, started recording. I'd already done some planning since 3:30 though, so it's not like I just jumped in. I was just clearing my watch list. There's a few watch list issues. There always seems to be. This is a good sign whenever this whenever this pre-market tab pops up. That's a good sign that things have refreshed. And the only thing that was on the list originally and in my price range and my float was way down here, that Viru. It didn't really have enough volume to be trading, but I threw it on the watch list just to take a look at it. And the only way I would be interested in it if it broke the high of day, well, not high of day, but this high right here, and then pulled back, and also was able to maintain that high. Okay, now I go back to the list just to see if there's anything else. I decided to restart Weeble just to make sure that the pre-market top gainers list was refreshing properly. So then when I pull it back up and organized by volume, it looked quite different. Let me just go back to this one here. So NIO was up at the top with 84,000 shares, and then it's not there at all when I restart, which is kind of weird. But I mean, the whole top of the list looks different. So, but yeah, Sckt was up there. It was the number one as far as volume goes, and it was really high percent gain for the pre-market. So okay, so kind of my original plan for this morning was to mark out the high of day of whatever stock I was going to trade, let it break through the high of day, and then buy it on the pullback. So that's kind of what the original intention was here, but then it changed, and that changed my ability to hold to 2R, because I want to hold all these trades to 2 times my risk. But this wasn't exactly the trade I was looking for, but it was still like a pretty good setup that I did not want to miss, basically. And not so much like a FOMO thing. It was like, look, this is kind of a textbook setup. You're supposed to take these. It's one of the setups that I do take, and that's the 4-bar play, which is essentially the same as the 3-bar play. And what it is you have to have one large engulfing bar. And then the only thing I guess you could argue is that these are a little bit high above the high of these bars should be close to these, and it's not quite there, but that's somewhat subjective. So once I got in, I felt like that. Like, this is the stop loss that you're supposed to use for these 4-bar plays or 3-bar plays, like the low of the second or third candle, whichever is lowest. And I just felt like that was really far away from my entry, and for that reason I didn't want to hold till 2R. But notice this, I want to share this with you just so you see. So this was it right here. I just wrote this right before the market opened. Best setups pre-market. This is what I was looking for, and I got a 4-bar play instead. So that made me feel like, I don't think I'm gonna feel like holding the 2R. But look at this rule up here. If 1R is 10% or less of the entry price, you absolutely must hold for 2R or stop out at 1R. No exceptions. So I made an exception because this thing was only 28 cents, and 10% would be about 41 cents, right? So it was less than the 10%. And I honestly don't know if this thing made 2R or not yet. We're going to check right after we watch the trade. So because of that, fear that I had when this thing popped up a little bit, I decided to sell half. So I got 4 shares out at 421, which is only 7 cents of a move. So that's like 28 cents altogether. Excuse me. This thing keeps going higher. I take a little more off. So this is just like your typical, scaling out for pennies, which I'm trying to get away from. Because all my data tells me that if I just hold for 2R, that I'll be much greener at the end of every week, at the end of every month, than this scaling out stuff. Even when the trades do go against me and I stop out at 1R. So let's fast forward a little bit, because this is kind of a long trade. I took off another share there because I noticed it was starting to come back down. So I said, well, let me get a little bit more off the table. We don't even know yet if that was the right thing to do. Well, according to my rules and my plan, it was not the right thing to do. So then this thing goes up, and I decide to let me put my stop loss at the bottom of this candle, I guess. Since this thing dipped down and it pushed back up, I figured, if there are real buyers here, they came in there, and if this thing's really strong, it's going to hold this level now. So that's why I moved the stop up there. And then you see this thing come down, but it doesn't break that level. So I consider that, okay, the stock is still strong. And now I start thinking, this thing's might be heading back up to the high of pre-market. And if it breaks, maybe I'll add one more share. And that's something I think I'm going to get away from doing, because as soon as I add one share, I'll immediately get more nervous because my entry price, average price goes up. And the emotions are the thing that we're trying to fight against. So anything that makes us more nervous, there you see, where I feel like, okay, this thing's going to break the high of day. Let me go ahead and add a share. And then my price moves up from 414 to 422. So keep in mind, my first scaling out was at 421. So that doesn't make me feel good. I'm going to stop doing that, because that makes me want to get out of the trade sooner. Whenever I add in, you put more pressure on the trade. So I don't think that's a good thing to do. And a lot of times when I add in, even when I sell above that position price, it ends up being less or the same profit as if I didn't add and I sold at the same price, if that makes sense, because my entry price would be lower. So all right, so this thing kind of continues on higher. I sell one more share there. So this thing made a real nice move up here. So I'm saying, like, well, if it pulls back below this level, then I'm going to sell the rest of the shares. Because remember, once I added in, I didn't feel that good about holding anymore. Maybe if I was way down at 414, I would hold through the pullback of this run. I think I toy with the idea of selling out when it breaks that candle. Then I said, no, that's too aggressive of a stop. But then it does come right down through that level, so I get out, because that was my plan. All right, so let's see, did this thing go to 2R yet? Oops. So 2R is if it hit 471, and let's say broke through 471. It hasn't done it yet. So, but it's still, it could definitely do it before the the market opens. Although this would have been really, really tough for me to hold. The other thing I could have done is if I, as this trade went on, if I felt like it looks like it's going to reverse, I could have stopped out, somewhere, let's say, probably like the break of this level here. So that low of like 430, and then I would have made about $1.35, I think, on this trade by selling out all my shares at that point. But from the scaling out, here's what I did make. You can see all my orders here. Let's show my first, there's my first buy order right there. So bought 9 shares at 414 and added 1 at 440. Made $1.15 off of that trade. So that's my first trade of the day and of the week. And I'm done trading for the pre-market, and I'll be back. Oh, let me show you this really quick. My spreadsheet. So I've got all the information in about that trade. The setup was a 4-bar play. The return was 2.76%, which is not bad for a scaling out type of a trade. But obviously, if this thing goes to 2R, it's going to be, it would be over $5 profit. So it'd be about 5 times that. It'd be 8 to 10% easily ROI. So we'll see if it does or not. All right, guys. I will see you back at the market open, and hope you guys had a great weekend. Take care.